All right, everyone, welcome back to the We Shall Not Sleep podcast. Thank you so much for joining us this week. Thank you for our regular listeners and however method you are listening with and wherever you might be. I want to say I appreciate it. And it turns out, for the last year, basically the last year, I had been speaking to someone, lo and behold, through the ups and downs on this podcast that I've shared, my emotions, my sorrows, my joys, my longings. I have been sharing them with the woman that I would eventually fall in love with. So this goes out to her. Not that I want to expose it on a podcast, of course. It's public in my life, but it's not for the entire internet. So I'll just say to her, wow, what a cool thing. And something you've been praying for a long time, which is what, this type of companionship, when it finally comes true, it's what I talked about last week with this way to glory idea. There's a elation, there's this joy that you never thought that you'd experience. And then there's also the weight of that responsibility, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is nuts. This is now where it all begins. And so as I am preparing myself for all of this, I can't help but talk about this on my podcast because this is the most important thing that has happened to me in my entire life, besides my birth, of course, because of what I know is going to happen. I mean, I'm totally head over heels in love. That is beside the point. These are the facts of the case, Your Honor. And now it's in this courtship, enjoying that season. And for me, that was the catalyst for all of this. You see, I had opened myself up to new opportunities to meet people. And this might be you, whatever this is. I mean, for me, the biggest burden was a relationship. For you, it might be something else. But I would open myself up saying, sure, you know what, God, I understand. I totally get it. I am not going to go seek this out because I would rather have you arrange it, because when you arrange it, it's going to be much better than I do. That I had an understanding of. That's been a journey for the last 5 years on most of these episodes. It's been a healing process. It's been therapeutic. And it's part about seeing a therapist, trying to get through that time, understand that time in that season of life in 2021 that was just awful. And so when I look at that attitude, that was great. I'm acknowledging that God's the better planner and designer than I am. Perfect. However, what I would end up doing inevitably, though, is I would end up predetermining the outcome, though, based on nothing, just based on a feeling, maybe based on a want. So I would go out with somebody to just like appease that sense of I'm going to be open to it, except for that was my action by going out. But I was already determined I didn't want a second date. I didn't want something else. I was almost doing it to appease the side of the people saying, but every time, Michael, you say you want to meet somebody, you don't even go out. Give it a chance. And I do, but I'm not really mentally open to it. And so over the course of this last couple months, taking some of the advice of the people in my life that I respect the most, part of that was this understanding, taking an appreciation of, hey, you know what? Let me think about this differently. Let me look at this as if a second date doesn't exist. Tomorrow doesn't exist. It's only right now. It's only the moment. Taking, for example, like what Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount, do not worry about tomorrow. I wasn't necessarily worried. I was just projecting out and then just deciding, well, this is how it's going to be because I just know. And there might be some validity to that as far as instinct and experience. I'm not discounting that. But how I got to a point where I'm at right now is because I actually allowed the opportunity, took advantage of the opportunity that came my way. It wasn't something that I went seeking out. And then just staying present. That's it. Simply staying present doesn't mean you can't be a good steward, doesn't mean you can't, in a way, plan or at least talk about, like, hey, what do you want to do tomorrow? God willing, His grace goes before us. We wake up, I don't think that's bad. But instead of being present, you're only thinking about tomorrow, whatever those plans are, or next week, next month, whatever this thing is that you're after. That was my keys to success here. I'm not saying that would be yours. I'm not saying that whoever you are listening, that is what you need, or that you need anything. I just wanted to share that the pathway to this joy was a deeper appreciation for staying present. It was a greater understanding of being open, because even though I was going with the appearance of being open, my heart was completely shut off. Because in the same way a lot of people describe, you open yourself up to the possibility of love and adventure and excitement. You also open up yourself to the possibility of disappointment, hurt, sorrow. And us guys don't do a good enough job talking about that. Of like, yeah, that's what we fear. And we don't like to talk about what we're afraid of because, as men, we're not very good at that. We're not encouraged to speak about that. And frankly, sometimes we're afraid of just being rejected or being told that our feelings are, we shouldn't have them because we're men, or it's not valid. And that happens all the time in relationships. Something I've experienced firsthand in relationships. So, being in love. What an amazing feeling. And you, by the way, listener, whom is hopefully going to listen to this, I'm not sure. I want to thank you for your forbearance. You see, it's taken me a little bit of time to realize all of the things that have gone on in this last year, really since we first met. There's been some review of some messages and review of some Marco Polos that were sent between friends about us just crossing paths and what it was like, and wow, what a cool thing to go back, retread, to relive, and get back in each other's heads. Like, where were you coming from here? And I tell you that it's something that I just find what a privilege. Who am I? As somebody who has been bitter, I've described it in a lot of other areas of my life. I've described it at my home church, described it at my regular church job, to my friends, my family. I'm just really feeling the weight of loneliness because it's hard out here. The joke is that, like, all the people who found the good women, the good wives, was like finding like the last chopper out of Vietnam, and I feel like I was like left behind in a hot LZ with no way to escape, with this deep desire for companionship. And little did I know, there was another helicopter still waiting. And it's as plain as day. And so to you, the girl that I love, I want to thank you. This podcast is a tribute to you, to share my heart with the rest of the listening audience, that it's not about good things come to those who wait. Nope. Sometimes the cup that God will give you is bitter. I've had to drink that cup a lot since becoming a pastor, since we started this podcast. That's why it's been therapeutic for me to speak about how I feel. But now it's a season of joy. The cup is very sweet that God has given me to drink, and it's all God. There's no other thing. And having talked about how many times that we were close to one another, we just, like, how did we not run into one another? It's all about His timing. Why am I at 31 years of age, not a father and not a husband yet? Is it entirely my fault? No. But God's called me to this life for a reason, and trying to follow His footsteps with the relationships that didn't work out, and now this one that is, and I pray that will endure. it's His timing, and that's something we both have talked about. Like, wow, if this would have started a year ago, looking back, knowing what was about to happen, at least from my life's perspective, about how low it was last October, November, what my church has gone through, starting a new job and taking on school, like that would have been a lot of stress on a new relationship. And where I'm at now, I it's just amazing the amount of peace that the Holy Spirit can provide when all you're doing is thrusting all of your utter strength and reliance upon Him. And the fruit of that for me is finding a love that I never thought I would, a deep, abiding love that when they say that you know, and I'm like, great, that doesn't mean anything to me. When you have your best friend is your spouse, your future spouse, that's how people describe it, and I'm like, great, that's no idea. I have no idea what you're talking about, because I got some really good friends, some good guy friends, and I love hanging out with them, but like I don't need to spend every waking minute with them. But this is different. I think I'm finally getting it. So you could use your prayers. I wanted to at least share that with you, that I have been. It's been a depressing season, specifically this year, and the pastorate can be very lonely. Leadership is lonely in and of itself, but watching other pastors who have their wives by their side at funerals and stuff. I mean, I know God's with me and everything, but there is a power in that, because men and women were made for each other. So this is a spiritual thing, and I'm very grateful for it. So thank you, sweetheart, for your listenership of the last year. Oh my, that what that must have felt like to you. But thank you for the rest of you. You can I'm just sitting here smiling. So I'm in that phase of that relationship where everything's amazing, and I know that you guys will remember that. For those of you who are married, you'll remember that too. And we would just love and invite all of the prayers for support and accountability, because I don't want to screw this up. Because this woman here, she's a gem. She's a keeper. So, but anyway, thank you all so much for bearing with me and hearing my heart tonight. I hope that you have a blessed week. And with that, may God truly bless you, and may God keep you.